We're moving on now to Annihilation, the brand new Alex Garland sci-fi movie. I cannot wait to talk about. There is so much to get into with this movie. We got to talk about. You want to start with the box office on this movie? You want to start on the box office first with this?
It's your call. It's not a bad idea to start with it, honestly.
Let's start with the box office. Let's get the negative out of the way because I don't want to praise this thing and then get into the negative. Okay, let's talk about the box office of this thing. The Annihilation opened this weekend. Okay, it opened in the American theaters. We were going to talk about internationally what its deal is over there. We're going to get into that because I don't think a lot of people know. Came in 4th place at the box office, Annihilation, with $11 million against a $40 million budget. That's not very good. It's not very good. And this would not even be another a tragedy in a way if it wasn't for the sorry state of Paramount right now. I mean, Paramount is right now in one of the worst spots for a studio.
And the thing is, it's like I was like, oh, why are you guys not like having faith in Annihilation? And then like, you realize what kind of a sci-fi film Annihilation is. It's like, yeah, I can't blame you, honestly.
You know,
especially when you're going up against like Black Panther, a comedy. Yes. And then a kid's film, Peter Rabbit's still making money.
It's a hard thing to go up against, especially telling a lofty sci-fi drama. You want to hear something interesting too. So do you know how Martin Scorsese's making that new movie, The Irishman, for Netflix? Okay, Paramount was originally going to be the one to bankroll this, but after Silence bombed, they cut it. The Irishman, now they released the budget of this thing that's going to Netflix. This Martin Scorsese movie, okay, $140 million for The Irishman. For Scorsese's new movie.
Wasn't like Silence like $5?
Stop it. Silence was, I want to double check that. Yeah, $140 million for that Irish.
Insane.
Silence was $50 million. Silence was $50 million.
$50 million?
Bright was 90, I think, $90 million.
Wow. Okay, so a Martin Scorsese drama is
like
a
that
bigger budget movie than a Will Smith action fantasy movie.
And you know what the thing is? This is such. Here's the thing. First off, I'll tell you right now, and I hate to bring like kind of this attitude to it, but I want to say this: if Black Panther underperformed or did like Justice League numbers, Ryan Coogler would be like Tim Story with Fantastic Four. Yeah, he would be out for like 3 years. But Scorsese, and don't get me wrong, Scorsese's made a lot of hits in his day. I understand that, but Scorsese, who made Silence for $50 million, didn't even make its money back. Now he gets a movie more than double that cost. Yeah, like that doesn't make a bit of sense. I can't believe that. I mean, I just had to bring that up though because that was in part of the article for Forbes that was talking about this. So I think Paramount was right to drop that at their current juncture. Yeah, they could not A, afford that, and B, trust that to make money. Now, having said that, though, Paramount going forward is looking to, they have a couple properties that are interesting. They're looking towards a Terminator reboot, which I think could go either way. Man. But you know what they're also looking towards, too, is a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which it could work. It could work.
Sonic, you can really move.
Oh, God. But the thing is, with Sonic, too, is like, I can't help but think that's another case of like Ratchet and Clank, where like you're 15 years late.
Yeah. That's like the Slender Man movie that's coming out. It's like, why?
You know what I mean? You could have done this a lot better a while back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you could have actually gotten the core audience. But like I said, Annihilation.
Like when I was growing up, I remember Sonic being like the bomb. Basically, it was great. Mm-hmm. And now it's like growing. Like as old as I am. It's like, God,
Dominic's got to chime in.
I'm sorry, video games now in my territory. Sonic already has a movie. He already has a full-length animated movie in which the character is called Dr. Robotnik.
Yes.
Rather than Eggman.
Eggman.
And Knuckles has like an Indiana Jones style hat. And I think Tails has like a Fear of Thunder. I don't know. It's a really interesting movie from like the early 90s. So
they did make a lot of short. They did make a lot. They did make a couple. Like
I know they had a
Cartoon Network aired it a few times. I know that it's been. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're referencing.
Look, my last thing on that Sonic comment. I know, total derailment. Excuse me, but like Sonic has been kind of running on empty for like the last 10 years of his franchise career. He just needs to not do anything.
It's funny because they released a game last year that was like amazing. Called Sonic Mania.
Yeah.
It was like a great comeback. And then it got followed up by another game released by Sonic team or whatever the hell it's called, and it was a bomb. And like it basically just brought down Sonic again.
But now we're looking with Paramount, looking forward now. I mean, you have like movies like these big tentpole movies. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows did not do well. Star Trek Beyond bombed. Baywatch bombed.
They're rebooting the Transformers series.
Well,
too.
well, I was just gonna say too. Paramount's fate this year, after having a weak 2017. Paramount's fate now rests in Bumblebee and Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Though, and
how's the Star Trek series looking?
Star Trek. There was a little bit of talk that there might be a reboot with Quentin Tarantino directing. There was that talk there, but I don't think they're continuing it. I don't think they're continuing
that's sad, because I really like Beyond.
You know, but there was also too. It's just with Paramount is that. Paramount has also, in a way, kind of started to look towards like adult fare as well, and you know what I mean, like for like adult audiences, like Silence, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Everybody wants some.
They're gonna start pulling back and become like A24.
13 hours and stuff. But like, I mean, if you look, here's the thing: I can't blame Paramount here because you know what? Like, I just named those movies. Sony has taken L's on Roman J. Israel Esquire, Only the Brave, All the Money in the World didn't do what they were hoping, Queen of Kotway.
Emoji Movie.
Stop it. The Finest Hours. I mean, there's movies, though,
they're best.
They're adult fare.
Yeah.
Adult
okay.
fare.
I thought you were talking about just films in general.
Adult fare that have not been performing up to par of what they were expecting.
Because I was going to say their biggest box office success last year was a film they didn't even make. It was just distributed by them. Marvel made it for them.
Yeah, really. I mean, but with Annihilation bombing, it's just it's very sad in a way because this is such a good movie, and we didn't even talk about with the UK what they're doing in England.
Yeah. So basically, if you live in, I think. Yeah, just in Europe itself,
United
right?
Kingdom, Europe, yep. Yep.
Like you will be getting Annihilation next week on Netflix.
It's coming straight to Netflix. If you are
in the U.S., China, and there was one other country I forgot, it'll just be in theaters.
It'll be in theaters, yes. Because it's funny, we're not used to this in a way from as Americans. Americans, if something comes to video on demand with us or like a Netflix exclusive, it might get a theatrical release overseas.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That happens more often than I think people recognize. Whereas with Annihilation, it's different to get the other thing. It's different to like well, we got to put on pants to go see this movie, and our friends over the water,
but
they
the
do
French,
not. You know, they
do
not. They can stay home. But you know what, Alex Garland, and I'm going to quote Alex Garland here and what he said, because director Alex Garland, he said something really kind of poignant about this, about this. First off, with the context, and then we'll start getting into the movie. For context, he says, going back, when this movie tested negatively, one of the financiers at Paramount said that the film was, and I quote, too complicated or too intellectual for American audiences.
I read that. I laughed out loud.
So he demanded, the financier at Paramount, he tried to get producer Scott Rudin, who tip of the cap to him, he tried to get Scott Rudin to get on board with Garland and say, can you change the script in terms of making Natalie Portman's character a bit more sympathetic, change the ending around, maybe not to make it as radical. And Scott Rudin took the side of Alex Garland in a bold, and Paramount's not in the best situation right now, probably a job on the line move, took Alex Garland's side, and Rudin had final cut privileges. So Rudin got to say what version was going to be going to theaters. So tip of the cap to Scott Rudin, who went against a financier, somebody bankrolling this thing. It's not like this is the most expensive thing in the world, but 40 million is 40 million. But who helped bankroll this thing and going against it and siding with the creator. Now, Garland, I want to mention, says, and I quote, "We made the film, Annihilation, for cinema. I've got no problem with the small screen at all. The best genre piece I've seen in a long time was The Handmaid's Tale, so I think that there's incredible potential within that context. But if you're doing that, you make it for that medium and you think of it in those terms. Mm-hmm. The film is getting a theatrical release in the States, which I'm really pleased about. One of the big pluses of Netflix is that it goes out to a lot of people and you don't have the strange opening weekend thing where you're wondering if anyone is going to turn up, and if they don't, it vanishes from screens in 2 weeks. We talked about that with Cloverfield Paradox. So it's got pluses and minuses, but from my point of view and the collective of the people who made it, it was made to be seen on the big screen. And if you've seen Annihilation, if you're one of the people that contributed in America to its $11 million opening, you probably would agree, even if you didn't like the movie. You would probably agree. This is a movie that really needs to be seen on the big screen, indulged in, and that's kind of where we're at, though, with the box office. I wanted to make sure we took a few minutes and talked about that because I think it is important to mention. But Paramount's in trouble. And I don't know if my company's fate was in the hands of a umpteenth Mission Impossible sequel and a Transformers spinoff in 2018. I got news for you. I would have more faith bankrolling a live action Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
I
I'll say
really
that.
hope that all that buzz about Henry Cavill's mustache being CGI'd out makes people go see Mission Impossible.
Salute
Like,
on that.
seriously, I feel bad for Paramount.